G'day viewers, welcome to another super cool, super helpful repair video from the Goat Shed, located in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. Now today we're going to do a troubleshooting video on Gottlieb's El Dorado. But before we do, we better let you know it's Wednesday the 4th of September 2024. It's 13 degrees Celsius outside, which is approximately 55.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Now this particular El Dorado has been repainted. It did show up on Facebook recently, and the Playfield has been totally gone over, so we're going to give you a little look at that in a moment. The owner is going to have this in our annual Pinfest, which will be starting on Saturday the 14th of this month. So let's have a little closer look at this El Dorado now and see what's going on with it. So El Dorado is one of, I think, 12 or 13 games that had the Half Moon credit unit in it. Remember, the last game to have that was Atlantis, and Atlantis ended up coming out with, some came out with the Half Moon and some came out with the standard replay unit. Alright, let's go and have a closer look at this now. Okay, so here's the front of the game. The front door's been painted with like a silver type chrome sort of paint. Got that sticker on there, which, yeah, we know it's not original for this series machine, but there it is. Now let's have a little look at the paint job. Here we go. Just got the flashing of those LED lights.
Now those are our legs.
Yeah, these are our service legs. Everyone's seen those before.
Yep.
There you go. Well,
looks very nice, and it's got the cactus on the back. Yeah, it's not original, but it looks like,
yeah, there you go. The green cactus. He's added that to it, so it looks very nice. Let's have a little look at there's the back glass. It's in pretty good condition. Just one minor blemish that we can see up the top there. Yeah, just there, which is not much. So here's the Playfield. So it was Mylar. It's quite
colourful.
Colourful indeed, yeah. Just try and stop those LED lights from doing that, but we can't. Here's the other side of it. We'll just give you a look. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, now the problem. So we're in
first ball.
We're in first ball, and what the problem is we're having some issues with the game not scoring correctly. Now Graham will just go around the back and operate the relay. Look at that. Everything's
looks like it's in reset.
Looks like it's in reset mode, and everything's sort of going over together. What could be causing that? Okay, let's investigate, shall we? Right, now let's have a little look here. So what we've got, we have a score reel. Let's take the tens reel out first, and let's just come around here and have a look at the switches. Now that reel is on 7, and let's have a look at the very, very, very top switch. That's the 9 carryover switch. That is closed, and that should not be closed. That's what's giving the power to the next one over, so we're going to have to adjust that.
And we assume that all the others are the same.
And yes, they are. That one is. So it's just misadjusted switches in this case. Now Spanky found that pretty quickly, because when you see things like that and it's carrying on to the next reel, it's got to have something to do with the carryover circuit.
And there's a secondary problem with that as well. It's given resistance to the score rule when it gets the 9 to go to 0. So
oh, okay, yeah, let's have a look at. There's the 9 not carrying over, and what the problem is there's too much resistance on the switches. See how that fell down then? So by adjusting those switches,
they should be right.
They should be right.
The score rules have been rebuilt,
but the switches have just been misadjusted.
So it's going to be pressure on the score rule.
Okay, let's get in and adjust those 9 switches now.
We'll see what happens.
Well, not the 9 switches, the carryover 9 switch.
Yeah.
Okay, so this score rule problem's now resolved, so we'll just operate that N relay. Keep going till we carry over. Beautiful, now we'll operate the relay next to it, which is the M for Mary relay. Carried over, that's great. Now we'll operate the reel next to it, which is the L for 1000 relay. That's beautiful, it's carrying over. So that problem was fixed by adjusting those 9 switches, viewers. Now the next problem we've got, when we roll over anything on the playfield, nothing's working. Targets aren't working. Oh, and by the way, this machine's got no chimes in it at present. None of the rollos are working. So that's a common fault to something. Let's go and refer to the schematic and try and discover what that fault is. Okay, here we're looking at the schematic here. Now you've got everything to do with scoring. Here's your targets. Where are we? Drop targets, they weren't working. Rollovers, they weren't working. Nothing was working. So if we follow this rail or line all the way down here, I'll get my hand out the road, come down here, we'll eventually come to a switch on motor 1C, a normally closed switch that goes over to the power rail, which is the red-white wire. It's a normally closed switch, white-blue on one side, red-white on the other. What we'll do is we'll clean that switch first and see how we go. Let's try that. We're just going to illustrate that we're shorting that switch out with a screwdriver, and when we roll over now, it'll work. So that's going to fix that. We're going to clean that switch. I'll probably put the Dremel on that there and give that a bit of a clean, and then away we should go. And we'll be able to test the rest of the game then. Alright. Alright, now we've cleaned that switch thoroughly. We actually used the Dremel, so we'll go over a rollover and it should all work now. Beautiful. Another couple. Okay, now that's good. Now we've noticed another problem. Let's hit this big move spot target here. Listen to that. Now that's the step unit under there. It's the advanced step unit making that ungodly noise. Let's lift the bonnet up and have a quick look at that. This is the unit in question. Now we're just having a quick look at this before. We've got the coil sleeve not coming right through, and therefore everything's moving around rather badly.
It can nearly come out, actually.
Yeah, it's nearly coming out, so it's not right. So we're just debating, seeing as we're not happy with it, I think we're going to pull the bonus unit out, not the bonus unit, the advanced unit out and have a look. Possibly suspecting the spring washer between the frame of the coil is missing. It's hard to know, but it's definitely not right. We've discovered a slingshot coil here is incorrect. It's got a 1496 in instead of a 5194,
yep,
which it should be. Can't really get around there. We're not too sure if we're going to worry about that. We'll see how that plays. But we've got to fix this bonus unit up. So let's get Spanky on the job. You can see where we cleaned that switch with the Dremel. See, it's a bit shinier than the others. The other thing we're going to do is motor switch 1A is a bit too widely gapped. We'll adjust that as well. Not a major problem, but we'll do it. Right. So let's look at that right now. Now, just a moment ago I mentioned about the motor run switch, and I said 1A. That's wrong. It's actually 1C. This is the switch in question here. Graham's just adjusting it now. The gap was a little wide for our liking. There you go, make sure we've got the pressure there.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty good now. Alright, now what we've also noticed that it has a broken motor brake. So
we've got them in stock.
Should have one in stock. We'll put that brake in. That just to rest the motor at home position.
It's going backwards a little bit.
Going backwards a little bit much there for our liking, so we'll fix that, because if the motor does overrun, it changes the state of the switches, and instead of being normally closed on 1C, they become open and it won't work. Now we've also completed the work on this step unit. So what it was two things. It had the wrong coil in it, so coil sleeve, I beg your pardon, we put a new one in that's got a poke through. Remember, we were getting a lot of sideways movement. That's a whole lot better now than what it was. Also the spring washer, which is this little thing here, which goes between the coil and the coil casing, there wasn't one there, so we put that in, and that's working a lot better now. So I guess the next thing we can do is we'll power it up. Oh, we just had a little bit of a problem with a rollover wire form. This one here.
No, it was in the middle. Yeah.
Oh, in the middle, was it? Yeah, a bit hard to see, but one of these rollover wire forms was sticking, and what it was is a combination of two things. This machine has had mylar on it. You can even see that one there is kind of rubbing up against this one here, Graham. It's rubbing up against the wood as well. We might attack that from the top.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
See if it's not playing up.
Sometimes they're okay, if they're just a smidgen.
Yeah.
But you can also see it's got bridge rectifiers on it.
Yeah, so
the owner's done a bit of a job.
The owner does a few mods to this, as Graham just mentioned. There's the bridge rectifiers.
He jumps all the light sockets. You can see. There's one there. He does some really out there stuff.
Yeah, and he's also put little LEDs into the flipper buttons. It turns out that's what this here is. What's that? A bridge rectifier, is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to turn this on and see what happens. So the next problem we were having, we noticed that when it kicked the ball into the shooter lane, it wasn't advancing the ball count unit. Now, this switch here under the trough, we could manually operate it by pushing, and it would work. But when it ran over the wire form, it wouldn't seem to work. So we've actually taken that switch out, and we noticed it had a bit of overspray on it from where the guys airbrushed the Playfield. So we're just adjusting that switch now, and hopefully that's what the trouble is. So we'll just have a little look. Okay, so we've cleaned that switch, and the ball will come out of the trough, and we're now on ball one. We'll score a few points, and we'll drain the ball. Alright, it's all working now. So two problems. Problem was the dirty switch that we showed you earlier, and what we found is occasionally it wouldn't work, but every time you manually press this down, this actuator, it would work. We just lifted this up to give it a bit more upstroke, and therefore better downward pressure and on the switch, and it's all good now. So two problems in the one go. We also had a look at the O relay, but because it was working manually, we knew that was all good.
Yeah.
So we've just got a little bit more troubleshooting to do now on this.
We've got to put it in free play.
Yeah, we've got to put it in free play. Let's show you how to do that on one of these. This is pretty easy. Remember, this is one of those half moon credit units.
So sometimes people get a bit mixed up how to put it in free play on these games.
They do.
It's very simple. So we'll show you the quick solution, and we'll show you the permanent, more better solution.
Righto, let's just pop round the back here. At the moment, we have a jumper wire on the switch closest to the unit itself, and one on the other side, just there. Get that in focus for you.
Now, what you can do, you can either hardwire them 2 wires together, which I don't recommend. I think the easiest one to either leave it like that, but there's a few wires in the middle, or you can just put an alligator clip across the 2 switches, just across the 2 switch blades.
Yeah.
Or you can actually bend the switch in, but I wouldn't
Bend the switch in if you want to.
recommend that either.
Now, people, these half moon credit units do play up, and we've done a whole video on that. It's a reasonably long video, about 2 years back. So if you look in our video library,
strip one down, you really need to.
Stripped it right down and fixed it all up.
These wire forms are very, very important to have them correct.
Yeah, that's those there. They used to break at first in the field, apparently, we were told, and they changed it. They made them a bit tougher. They're to prevent the gear from going like backwards. And they're more a check pull. They're really hard to move. You can't manually move these. You've got to operate the plungers by operating, trying to move these things down. They're really difficult to work with. They were sort of made apparently as an anti-tamper, so people couldn't drill a hole in the side of the game. And but remember, they only lasted Atlantis was the last game with it. We mentioned that earlier on. All right. Let's carry on with this now and see if we can find anything else wrong with it. Now, while we're just talking about this troubleshooting video, we're going to try and do as many of these as we can for you. Don't forget to consider subscribing to our channel. We'd greatly appreciate that. Also, make sure you give us the thumbs up for making these videos. These take us time out of our day to do. I know people do appreciate it, but yeah, it is a lot of work for us, and you know, sometimes it's not possible to do every game we get. We try and do most, but yeah, this El Dorado is shaping up to be a really nice machine.
We have to fit the left flipper.
Oh yeah, the left flipper is sticking. Hang on a sec. So
we're not sure whether the tray's in the road or it's the actual flipper button.
Not doing it now, but it is the flipper button. The flipper button was sticky. So this is the thing, he's got those LEDs in it we showed you earlier on. And we have to adjust the flippers, they're not quite...
but we'll leave the angle to do that.
They're not angled all that well. Both of them need coming down, being more parallel to the...
This is a get-going machine for Pinfest. We're not going right through every relay, as long as the machine...
Yeah, the owner's done all the work, all the artwork and everything on. He's, as we mentioned earlier on, he's very good with the airbrush. Sorry about those LEDs, we'll hold that up there.
We know that the colours are different in some regards.
Absolutely.
But it's very effective.
So let's just get it to go to game over.
We should be right.
Ball 4, ball 5.
Game over.
Game over. And a match on 90. We're just out there. Okay. Let's just see if there's anything else wrong with it now. So further testing revealed a couple more problems on this game, and we've now rectified that, and we'll run through the schematic in a moment and show you what the problem actually was. It's a bit of a strange one really. So let's start the game up and do a reset. I guess it helps if you turn it on. There we go. Now, first thing you'll notice is you probably, if you listen carefully, we had that horrendous noise that was coming from the 5-bank target bank. That was part of the problem why we found that the 10-bank wouldn't reset. So the rules of this game are, you knock all these down, and just before we do that, another little problem we found, they weren't working, those 2 switches there. They are now. What had happened, the owner, when he's put the target bank back together, he's not put the feed on the correct spot, so we just had to find that. Now you watch, I'm going to knock this last target down, and these targets will reset, but you won't get that horrendous thumping noise as we were before. bang, there, and you get a replay when that happens. So, as I said, we've corrected that now, and it wasn't a difficult problem. It's the old story. It takes longer to find the problem than to fix it. So I'll just take you to the schematic now and we'll show you exactly what the problem was. So here we have the G relay. It's the target bank reset relay and also 5,000 point relay. Now if we come across to the other side, we've got a switch on, normally closed switch on 1C has to be closed. The fifth position target sequence, fifth position 5 bank target sequence switch, and the 10th position 10 bank sequence switch has to be closed. And then also here's the lock-in circuit runs down there with the G. Remember, whenever you see a relay G and a switch on it with the same letter I should say, that's the hold-on circuit. There's a switch on the D relay, which is a 500 point relay, and the switch on the C relay, both normally closed, have to be closed. Well, that side of the circuit was all working. At first we thought we had a problem there because the G relay wouldn't hold on. Now the only time that G relay pulls in is when that sequence occurs, when the last drop target of either bank goes down. That will then pull in the G relay, because there's all your circuit that we just illustrated. Now that's sensible enough. The other part of the circuit is right down the bottom here, and that's to do with when we actually start a game and it resets the banks. But there's also a switch on the G relay in that part of the circuit. Let's just show you that. So here we have the 10 bank coil, there's 2 of those, and the 5 bank coil. Now for those to operate, these work straight off the hot side of the transformer. We have our S relay pulls in at start, that's the S for start relay, and it's joined by a yellow wire here. That will pull in motor 2C, which in turn will reset will pull in both those coils, the 2 left and right, or top and bottom coils on the 10 banks, and the S relay still pulled in, and it will motor 4B will operate and it will pull in the 5 bank. Did I mention that motor 2C is involved in the other one? I think everyone can see that. So that switch has to close and that switch has to close. Now of course in timing the 10 bank sets before the 5 bank simply because that's position 2C, and on the timing chart, which is a little out of over to the left, you can clearly imagine that that's the way that would work. Now, so what was our problem? Well, as I said, the 5 bank would reliably reset every time. The 10 bank would not. It would sometimes try to, it would struggle. So we'd obviously checked all the circuit on the G side, as we just illustrated a moment ago, and what we found was that the noise that was coming from that 5 bank, it seemed to stay on too long. The coil, it just normally should go snap and that's it, it's done. But this one was sort of making that horrible noise. It was staying on too long. The reason that the 10 bank wouldn't reset and the noise was motor switch 4B was touching all the time. Therefore, every time the G relay pulled in, that was already pulled in, and when the motor spun around, that would hold on all the time, therefore preventing 2C from operating correctly. Would probably be the simplest way because of the timing of it, preventing the other bank from resetting. So that was what it was. It's crazy, isn't it? You get all these weird problems and you've got to deal with them. But anyway, that machine's good to go. That'll be at our Pinfest, and like we said, owner's got a couple more things to do. We've already called him this morning and said, hey, it's ready, and away he goes. So thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this troubleshooting video. And remember to look out for Spanky and myself in the USA in October. Until we see you again, this has been another Goat Shed presentation.